Yo, YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Duke back here from sportsgamers.com, and we got a fire Madden 22 tip video for you guys today. So I've seen a lot of you guys request some offensive money plays that aren't meta, not in, the couple formations that everybody seems to run. So we got you guys covered today. I'm going to break down a super under the radar formation that has actual several money plays in it that you guys can use to attack coverage. And this little scheme, you don't need any abilities for. You don't need a specific team. This is something that can work with any team in any game mode. It's very effective, very easy to use. I'm going to be taking a look at the gun empty bunch from the Seattle Seahawks playbook. You can actually find this formation in others, few. But I like Seattle playbook overall a lot. It has a lot of great other stuff that you could mix with this. And we're going to be taking a look at a really, really glitchy play in the divide wheel. Now, as far as any subs go with this, I tend to put my two best receivers as the slot in the bunch, where you see, actually I believe I have 89 here, yeah. And also as the outside receiver, we see Brown. Now, important to note about this formation is it's actually a 3 receiver, 1 running back, 1 tight end. By default, so you can definitely audible to some other very, very nice formations in this playbook if you're going to use Seattle. So you guys can see, you can go to the bunch, the trade wide flex, tight slots, bunch tight end. So there's going to be some good audibles. Now, one thing we're going to mention with this is just like any formation that has a trip side of the formation, it's preferable to run that to the wide side. And when I say trips, I mean 3 receivers. They are bunched up here, so obviously we're going to put this side of the formation on the right. Since we're on the left hash, the right side of the field is going to be the wide side. Now, the setup to this is very simple. All we're going to do is streak the outside receiver opposite the bunch, and then the receiver that's running the wheel in the slot, we're going to drag him. I do like to, most of the time, motion the receiver running this kind of like, it's like a modified out route to the sideline and snap it after he takes maybe like 2 to 3 steps. You don't have to do that. That's optional, but I definitely like doing that because I feel like it makes it harder to get a defender out there to defend it. And we're going to go over how this attacks every coverage. Before I do that, I do want to remind you guys, if you're enjoying my YouTube content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do free Madden 22 tips, gameplays, and news every day, just about on a weekly basis. And if we can get to 300 likes on this video, I'll post another money play from this formation to go along with this little nice mini scheme that's off meta. Also, if you guys are looking to get better at Madden 22, make sure to check out sportsgamers.com. That's where I post all my premium Madden 22 tips, ebooks, offensive and defensive schemes. We do weekly tips in the Madden Vault, and we have content for current and next-gen consoles available. Now, let's look at this against Cover 3 stock. So, one thing I really like about this play is it's just so hard to defend this motion route. Most of the time, the defender is not going to be able to get out there. Now, if you feel like the defender that's guarding flat is going to be able to get out there, like right there, it's questionable. What happens is the seam is going to be so open for that little kind of the same route you see on the verticals plays. You guys can see he just cuts right into the soft spot. And because we have a crossing route and then an underneath drag too, this is just the perfect spacing on this play to pretty much attack any zone coverage out there. And like I said, most of the time when you motion this route, it is really hard for the defender to get out there. This time he did a pretty decent job. So because of that, I mean, I could have probably forced that in there and completed it. But I saw that this guy was taking, the guy we motioned was taking the flat defender. The crossing route had the hook zone, and so did the drag. So there's just a huge, you guys can see here, huge opening in the middle of the field. We're easily able to complete this pass in between all the zone defenders for a nice chunk of change. So one thing you'll notice is that if you do this a few times, you might start to see adjustments. Maybe that they're going to use this guy, and they're going to look to take that away. Maybe they even put hard flats and slide this guy out, so you can't. Definitely, it's harder to throw that route to the sideline. Which, if they do that, that's completely fine. Because, like I said, if they're going to guard that seam route, all that's going to do is that's going to open up either the crosser or the drag, maybe even both, for a very easy completion. One thing a lot of guys don't understand about empty is, you think it's easy to blitz, but with the spacing of this empty formation and the quick routes on this play, it's actually very hard to blitz because, you immediately have to take away the sideline on the bunch because of the motion route. You have the seam with the this route right here. And then you have two routes over the middle, high, low read with the crosser and the drag. All those routes are open immediately, depending upon coverage. And you still have to respect deep because we do have a streak going over the top on the left. So it's an extremely difficult play to blitz, and if they're going to move it, keep this guy, out of the sideline area, again, like, you can always just throw that route over there. Anytime you feel like it's not being completely just guarded, like right there, he didn't get over there in time, you can do it. Now, that route actually beats man too. Now we're going to look at this play against man. This play is also good against man. One thing I will say against man is this is why it's so important to have your two best receivers running the motion route and the crosser, because if you do, they're going to get way more separation against man than if you have scrubs there. Andrews is pretty good, but Brown's a little suspect. One thing I will say against man is, like, you definitely can just leave it without motion in against man and it works pretty much fine. The reason why I motion against zone is it just makes it harder for the defense to get out. But as you guys can see against man coverage, that's just a super dot. If you throw it on the break, they're not going to be able to defend that. Like I said, I would try to get your best receiver there just because you're going to get way more separation than just a fast guy like Brown. It's not really the greatest other than fast. Now, the thing is, like, you have to keep the safeties over top because we are attacking deep too. The crosser and the drag also are good reads against man, especially the crosser. I mean, the drag is more hit or miss, but the crosser and the route that attacks the sideline, if you have good receivers there, you can pretty much count on that beating man coverage. So far we've looked at man and cover 3. Obviously you have cover 2 as well. Now, cover 2 is probably the best defense that you could use to take away the route on the sideline without having to do a hard flat. A cloud flat, if you do not zone drop it, will not do the best job in the world. But if you do zone drop it, oftentimes you can defend it a little bit better. Now, obviously in practice mode you can't zone drop, but you guys can see just a stock Tampa 2. This is just open every single play. The thing is though, if you zone drop, you're gonna have to zone drop it lower than normal. So like most people when they zone drop want to put their flats on 25, 20, 30, right? Well, if you do that on this play, obviously this is just gonna get open every time. But if you put it on a lower zone drop so he doesn't drop so far back, it could cover it well. But if you notice someone doing that, then you're going to potentially be able to get easy crossers and corners over their head too. So that's why a lot of people will not want to make that adjustment, which just makes it so easy to keep throwing this on the sideline every single time. And, obviously then, the whole thing about cover 2 is, if you flood the middle, it's really hard to play cover 2. Well, we have the high-low read with the drag and the crosser also attacking the middle. So basically I'm just reading the middle linebacker. If he goes deeper down the middle, we're going to throw the drag, but if he stayed low and guarded the drag, I'll throw the crosser. The thing is, you cannot come off the seam either because, remember, we have this guy hitting the seam. So, like, if they want to use their 54 and play whatever, the drag or the crosser, whichever one the other defender didn't guard as a user, then we can just throw the seam. So that's why this play is just so hard to deal with, is because no matter what adjustment you make, like, you saw last play that they took the crosser away reasonably well. The drag was open. So maybe they're like, okay, I'll just stay low on the drag myself. Well, now I'm just throwing right behind your head to the seam route for an easy completion. So cover 2 really doesn't do a good job either. I know I talked about the blitz earlier in this video, so let's just quickly take a look at a blitz. So you guys know a pretty common blitz out there is just this pinch 2, and it definitely can be a tough defense, to deal with. Now, right here, again, remember, we have all quick reads. We have the streak hot route on the outside, and then the inside receiver opposite the bunch, we put them on drag. We're going to motion the guy out, and our first read is just going to be, basically I just look to that outside receiver. If I like it on the motion, I'll throw it. If it's questionable, then I'm starting to look to the middle of the field, and the drag and the crosser. And if I see that, I'm also at the same time looking at that seam, because I know that if they don't guard that seam, just as it was here, that's an easy dot. And you can see, sure, I'm letting someone come free at me, but that's just because I know they can't stop all these routes before I can get the ball off, if they're blitzing me anyway. So it doesn't really matter. There's no way in the world they can take away the motion route and then take away these 3 routes over the middle of the field and get pressure on me before I can get the ball off. Because once again, that motion route's there every time unless they zone drop. And then like so let's say that they just man this guy up to hit me with the seam. Maybe they user guard it. You know, whatever their adjustment is gonna be to try to take that route from me, I'm just gonna hit somebody else. So I noticed that, and now this guy's open. But if they stay at home, then the other guy's open. So this is just simply a play that if you make the correct read, you're gonna have someone open every single time. Probably multiple players, to be quite honest with you, because if you go back and take a look at this replay against this blitz, you'll see what I mean. I mean, I could have easily thrown this ball to the motion receiver because those zones, by default, they just drop too far off. So I will say that a cover 2 with zone drop, once again, is the best way to defend that route, but you have to zone drop it lower than you would want, which is why most people won't even make that adjustment, because then if you do see someone that did that, all you got to do is throw a corner or a crossing route behind their head. So hope you guys enjoyed this tip. Like I said, if you did, smash that like button, 300 likes, and I'm dropping another money play from this super under the radar formation.